This video is for those that have trouble explaining to their loved ones and friends just who and what the Illuminati are. We have several smoking guns throughout history. For those who understand the truth of the matter, it can be aggravating when we are called conspiracy theorists or belittled. Now, most people respond to this criticism by calling those who question them sheeple or other derogatory terms in response. What does this accomplish? Nothing. These are not evil people. What makes them so different from what we were just a short time ago? Not too long ago, I was as ignorant about this as anyone. This video is to point out things which really can't be disputed. I will provide links to everything I discuss here in the info section of this video, so that you can look them up for yourselves or share them. Sometimes you may only get one chance before you are tuned out, even by those you consider friends. This video is to help you make the most of that chance. First thing I would encourage all of you to show people is Operation Northwoods, and this article, which was written before 9/11 and is an article from what most people consider media they can trust, ABC News. Ask people what part of Operation Northwoods did they agree with. Did they agree with the plan by our government to terrorize American cities and kill women and children? Did they agree with the plan to kill our own military? Why did they plan all of this? Just to win support for war. Who would profit from this? When it is in cold hard print in media they trust that our government doesn't really care about us, is it logical for them to think there is no way 9/11 could be an inside job? Next, I would ask you to show them this letter from George Washington. It is on the official Government Library of Congress website. Again, everything I present in this video I will provide links to in the information section under this video. George Washington says in this letter, "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati and principles of Jacobinism has not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of this fact than I am. I will also link you the full transcription of the letter per the United States government. Washington attempts to separate the Freemason lodges in the United States and other countries later in the letter, but Washington himself was a Freemason. Now, if they have any concern that this is an official government website, simply point out the .gov in the website link." At this point, they are no doubt very interested in what the Illuminati is and what Freemasonry is all about. Now I would show them President John F. Kennedy's speech, which I will also link to you, dealing with secret societies. The movie JFK by Oliver Stone, who has recently been called anti-Semitic when he is of Ashkenazi Jewish descent, which makes the accusation ludicrous, is also a very good movie. While it might not come out and tell you everything, it shows you many things that would make you question just who really is in control of the United States and whom would actually profit off of John F. Kennedy's death. We have Executive Order 11110 by Kennedy, with which he tried to undermine the Federal Reserve through silver certificates. Now, you have to remember that these people are clever. When you talk about Executive Order 11110, they will say that it was never reversed by Lyndon B. Johnson. This is called semantics. Another official government website gives us the answer. Under the heading, "I have some old silver certificates, how can I trade them in for silver dollars?" we find that on March 25th, 1964, C. Douglas Dillon, the 57th Secretary of Treasury, announced that silver certificates would no longer be redeemable in silver dollars. So they didn't just reverse what JFK had done. They prevented this loophole from ever being used again by any president. Again, this happened shortly after JFK's death. After this, history is on your side. You can Google search quotes from Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, and Garfield, all whom fought against the two privately owned central banks, the First and Second Bank of the United States, before the third private bank, the Federal Reserve, was set up in 1913. You can also point out that the Second National Bank was set up immediately after the War of 1812, which is not a war that is discussed much in the history books. Now at this point you can ask them, who owns the Federal Reserve? Who owns the International Monetary Fund? And who owned the first and second central U.S. banks? A good question to ask about the International Monetary Fund is to ask the simple question, is there a nation in the entire world who may soon be our enemy that also isn't in debt to the IMF? The answer is an emphatic no. The video I am going to link you now might be wrong about George Washington being oblivious to the Illuminati, but the rest of the statements and quotes about the Rothschild family, which include our own presidents talking about them, are historical fact. We also have articles like these two, published in newspapers, where it tells us the fact that the Rothschild family has literally set the price of gold for the entire world for the last century. You are supposed to believe, though, that this family somehow lost all their money, and that this is why they are not listed in the richest people in the world articles in Forbes magazine. Now it should be obvious why the richest family in the world shouldn't have been the one setting the price of gold daily. And it should also be obvious that this family would want to control the media and spin the idea that somehow this family lost the majority of their wealth, and that they are now simply financial advisors. The fact is, this family's wealth is simply incalculable. Just by setting the price of gold, they could have made so much money daily that the idea that the family lost any of their wealth is ridiculous. Now where do you go from here? You could show them Invisible Empire to show them just what our government has been up to the last 100 years. As an Alex Jones sponsored film, it of course ignores Zionism, the Rothschilds, and the first and second U.S. banks. But it definitely points out that things are very wrong in our government. Alex Jones has claimed that Arabs own Hollywood, and he is a fool, and most likely in the employ of the Illuminati, but this film doesn't really present any lies. It simply avoids obvious truths. There's also a plethora of websites and videos on YouTube that show that 9/11 and the Gulf of Tonkin, which again happened right after Kennedy's death, were inside jobs. The Gulf of Tonkin recently had many documents declassified, which show that it was obviously an inside job. Now, for those that have religious friends, you have to remember something. Our larger churches and all these television evangelists are totally controlled by these people. You can show them minutes 6:10 through 10 minutes in this video I made to show the Kabbalah Babylonian Talmud connection, and then point out that the Catholic Church adopted these beliefs, such as the Archangel Metatron. Encourage people to run a YouTube search on Metatron, and you will see the most wacky, far-out New Age religions that you can imagine. Now, as far as the Zionist involvement, do we have smoking guns and history about the evils of Zionism? And do we have DNA evidence that shows that these people who claim Jewish descent are not what they claim to be? Yes, we do. We have the USS Liberty as a huge smoking gun in history. For those that are convinced that we must support the troops or Israel, ask them why they don't support the troops who are trying to tell the truth about the USS Liberty. Why are these surviving soldiers labeled anti-Semitic for telling the truth about what happened? Why did the Anti-Defamation League speak out on this issue and defend Israel over its own country soldiers who were murdered by Israeli troops?